So we'll go to the economic development pros. Kurt Overmeyer is the Watsonville Economic Development. Are you a manager or director? Manager. Okay, and works in a very busy environment. So Kurt, please have at it. 5 minutes.
I hope you can see me over this rather high podium. Well, thank you for having me today. I'm really honored to get the chance to talk to you about Watsonville. Watsonville is a really interesting place, and I think that I'm going to try to demonstrate our second biggest issue that we need to solve really quickly. So with a quick show of hands, who's been to Watsonville in the last 6 months? Wow, that's great. And in the last month? Wow, still great. Good. Okay, if you were going to use 2 words to describe Watsonville, what would the 2 words be? Agriculture, good. Target, okay, what else? And I'm not looking for politically correct answers here, so don't be shy. Fresh fruit, good. All good things so far.
Underserved.
Mexican American.
Now, when we do this anonymously and we don't ask people to say what they think out loud, the number 1 thing that we get is crime. The number 2 thing that we get is gangs. And that's a big problem that we need to solve. But the problem, ironically enough, is that those problems, the gang problems, relatively small in Watsonville, as is the crime problem, compared to the other jurisdictions in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. So that perception is something that's sort of lived on well beyond its actual truth. So we've been really making a concerted effort, and I hope you've seen some of the articles that have appeared in the Santa Cruz Sentinel and the Register Pajaronian and on Watsonville Patch about our community and the nice things about it. It's really easy to get the newspaper to print a story when someone gets hurt. It's a little bit harder to get them to print a story about a business that's doing something really cool, or about individuals in Watsonville that are doing cool things, or about what our local government's doing to bring Watsonville to where it needs to be. Our other big problem, and this one I'm hoping will blow some people's minds in here, is our industrial real estate vacancy rate right now is under 1%. And to make that sounds great, right? We've got a lot of businesses. That is great. But it's a double-edged sword, because the properties that we have available that we can deliver relatively quickly all have some pretty serious problems in terms of making them easy to develop. So we have a 10-acre property. Carl Blanky back there in the back knows all about this one. It's got a $300,000 hole in the project from the start, because there's a building there that needs to be torn down. So when you add that extra problem to getting something developed, it's a lot less likely to get developed. And guess how we would normally fund fixing a property that has an impediment to development? We would take redevelopment money and we'd pay that $300,000 to make that property a greenfield site again instead of the infill site that it is now. And that tool is not available to us until October, and then it's really not available to us until next July, and that's assuming that lawsuits don't drag this out for the next 20 years. So, we don't know, and I'm scratching my head, how do we deliver properties for the businesses that we have existing in Watsonville that need to expand, number 1, and then, I spend a lot of my time recruiting businesses to come into Watsonville. I get an inquiry every week for a space larger than 25,000 square feet. We have one in Watsonville, and it's almost impossible to deliver to anybody because it's a packing shed that was built in the 1920s. So, when you have that kind of impediment, there's not an easy way to get past it, and it's really important that we have tools like redevelopment to make things move. And I don't think that that's everywhere in Santa Cruz County, but where we have a lot of infill projects that need to get done. But I think that having a redevelopment as a tool all over Santa Cruz County is a really vital issue for this region. And then the last thing I want to say is our downtown has some problems that we need to solve. And again, it's redevelopment that usually comes in and fixes those problems. We have a lot of buildings that are functionally obsolete in our downtown. We don't have enough parking. We don't have parking in the right places. These are all things that usually you go out and you get some EDA money. Well, the EDA's got $100 million for the whole United States in this year's budget. We're not going to get enough of that to make any kind of effective impact. And then we have redevelopment, on the sidelines. We can't use redevelopment money. So, what do we do? What do we do from this point? How do we move forward? I'm not really sure I have an answer yet. working on it. We have some ideas, but we don't really have a great answer. And I appreciate you having me here. And if you have questions, I'll be around at the end, so please grab me. I look forward to talking to y'all. Thanks.